what would we do if I was one of those husbands who's like, the kid's your responsibility? He would never go to sleep.
Yeah.
But what would you do if you said, the kid is mine? Well, hello and welcome to another episode of The Family Business with the Alessis. And today, the Alessis are Chris and Richelle Alessi.
Yes.
So we get to be in the podcast booth today. And we have something very interesting to talk about, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff, but you look great. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
I have the Alessi Family Business mug, and you have something different.
Yes, so I am actually waiting for the new mug because I already ordered it, but
The
I'm waiting
Yappuccino
the
mug.
Yappuccino mug that is already available. So you guys can come get it, but mine is on the way.
Okay.
So because I'm waiting for that mug, my cup will be white. But on the next episode, I'll have that mug.
Okay, the Yappuccino mug.
Yes.
The professional yapper. If you don't know
Yep.
what we're referring to, in episode 31, Gabby, you just go watch episode 31.
Yes.
Trust me. But
And then get the mug.
and then get the mug, the Yappuccino mug.
Yes.
Well, today we're talking about something that, it's interesting. Before we were even brought up in discussing this for a podcast, we were talking about this at home.
Yeah.
One particular night we were hanging out. I think your sister was over, and we were just like, I left and watched a 20-minute video, and we're referencing, of course, the Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker. Great name, Butker. He gave a commencement speech at Benedictine College in Kansas, and as a result, there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of negative comments his way.
Mm.
People saying he should lose his job, and really calling him a misogynist, calling him sexist, because of comments that he made that when I watched it, his particular point, if you haven't gone and seen it and you're interested, or if you have an opinion and you haven't actually gone and watched it, you probably should. But his point, as in the whole 20-minute speech, he is talking about how the Catholic Church, because he's a Catholic, how he feels the Catholic Church has basically failed because they are not pushing God's word. They're not going and making disciples. They're not honoring the right things. So he says some pretty hard stuff to the Catholic Church, to men. But in between all that, he's got a 1-minute clip where he's talking about his wife. And in that clip, he just says, ladies, I'm so glad you've accomplished so much today, because they did graduate college. I know many of you are thinking about your jobs and the promotions, but I would guess to say, he says the word guess, I would guess the majority of you are thinking about your future husband and thinking about your kids.
Mm.
And then he went on a 40-second beautiful rant with tears in his eyes, talking about how his wife choosing to stay home and take care of their family and be a wife and a mother has helped him, because it even keeps him tethered to the right things. So we started talking about that because there's been a lot of discussion about, traditional gender roles and sexism and all that. So I watched it. I saw the clip, and then I came and I showed you the clip.
Yeah.
And now we're here talking about it. So what do you remember thinking when you first saw the clip?
So at first you told me about it and you didn't show me anything. You just told me what was happening. Because you follow the sports and all of that. So usually I'm like, oh, what's the drama happening with the sports now? And when you brought it up, I'm like, oh, what did he say? Because when you were talking to me based on the comments, I'm thinking, did he say something wrong? Did he try to say something that communicated something different? But then as we continue to talk about it, I'm like, can you show me the clip? And you actually showed me the clip that the moment that he was speaking about his wife. And I remember sitting there and I was just a little confused, because based on what the things we heard people were responding to what he said, for me, it didn't add up. And so I was just like, I'm confused. Why are people saying some of these things when that's not what he said?
Yeah. Yeah. So that, Gabby and I in that episode 31 actually talked about how people are just responding with no context. People are going out there and not really knowing what people are saying. And in this case, it's even worse because there were sports pundits and people that get paid a lot of money to talk sports, to write about sports, calling for this guy's job, saying he should get cut. And I'm like, when was the last time you actually saw a professional man on the stage crying, thanking his wife because his most important job is father and husband, and he couldn't do that without her?
Yeah.
That's like the most beautiful thing. Well, this has sparked a conversation even, in our offices between us about what do we believe about that?
Mm.
How do we look at traditional gender roles? How does it work for us? Because this is the Family Business Podcast, and shocker, it's not just men having these discussions. There are women who are here who have full-time jobs. My mom traveled the world for years, leaving us at home with dad. She had a full-time job that whole time.
Yeah.
So running the church with my dad was her full-time job. Her side gig was being a worship artist and traveling and putting worship projects together. You have a full-time job here.
Yeah.
Every single hour that I'm on the clock, you're on the clock.
Yeah.
Stephanie, full-time job as a mother of two. So this church is ran by phenomenal men and phenomenal women who both have families and they have children. So it's evident that we don't subscribe to just one or the other.
Yeah.
That we believe, especially when it comes from like a respecting women perspective, that it's less about men and less about women, and it's more about the family.
Yeah.
And it's about the unit that they create when they come together.
Yeah.
So what is it like for you as a woman who works when you hear the way that people are reacting to this guy, claiming all he's saying is women belong in the kitchen, which, by the way, if my wife could spend the majority of her time in the kitchen, she would love it. Am I wrong?
No.
Okay. She spent an entire Friday and Saturday making every single meal over those 2 days from scratch.
Yes.
And you were energized by it. You loved it. So what is that whole discussion like for you?
I think for me, I go to think first that everybody's life is a little bit different. And some moms will choose to be full-time at home because that's what they want to do. And some are going to say, I also want to work and I have a career because they have a passion for something, that they've been doing it for years. There's something that they want to accomplish. And I don't think either is wrong. If you want to stay home with your kids and just let that be what you do, that's a full-time job too. And if you want to work, then you could do it as well. For me, I only have one baby right now, so I can't speak for
But
moms
he's
that have
physical enough for 2 or 3.
yes. So I can speak for moms that have multiple, but I know I want multiple kids. And I want to continue to do both. I want to work and be a mom. I think there's enough room for us to do both as long as our priorities are in line correctly. We can't put what I think about is this. I can work, yes, and I want to help build the church. Yes, and I want to work on side businesses. Yes, because I have passions for things, and I want a creative outlet in some areas, and I think our life allows us to do that. And you have been my biggest supporter when it comes to work and even the ideas of anything that I might want to do later on as a side. You're the first one to tell me you can do it all. You believe in me that much. But ultimately, you and I know that our main priorities are home and our family.
Yeah.
We are not going to put work and our side businesses or any of those things first before we put our family first. Because all those things is the things that we can add to make our lives better. But what will forever be us is us and our Marina right now and our future kids. And we need to get that in order. I can work, I can have my full-time job, but my priority is going to be my home.
Yeah.
To be one, your wife, to serve you, to honor you, and then to be a great mom to Marino, to strive to be the healthiest that I can be, to provide a great atmosphere in our home. Not always perfect, but the best that we can.
Yeah.
Because when I ultimately look at my roles and responsibilities, the most important title that I hold is being your wife and being Marino's mom.
Yeah.
And I still want to work. and I want to be excellent at my work, and I have goals. I have those goals that I want to achieve. Here at the church, we're talking about 5-year plans, the year of vision. And being in the year of vision, it honestly opened my eyes to things that I want to do outside of here. And nothing that won't align with the church, but things that I'm like, I want to do that and I want to do that. And it's like, we can do it all. But while I'm planning those things, I have to remember I can't get lost in that, because that is not what's waiting for me at home.
Yeah. But can I say, I love what you just said. You can't get lost in that.
Yeah.
The truth is you can't get lost in any of it.
Yeah.
You cannot get lost in being a wife and a mom.
Yeah.
You can't get lost in being a business lady. So the conversation to me is really one of balance.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily know. The world loves to make it seem like there's balance if there's, two sides. But I think biblically, as people of faith, I think the better picture for balance is the word unity. And the picture for unity scripturally is the threefold stranded cord. And so for us, we know that marriage and the home is not just that you and I are unified.
Yeah.
It's not just us. That's a two picture. That's okay, we're balanced. We can't keep that balance on our own though. We need a third strand, which for us is Jesus. That he is the third strand of our marriage that keeps us balanced. Because as a father, I can't get lost in going out and being a provider. We know people that the man is so caught up in being a provider that he no longer has anyone to provide for. So you can't get lost as a man in being a family man either, because at some point they've got to eat. Bible says a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Someone's got to go put some work in.
Yeah.
So it's not, I love that you said you can't get lost in it, because it's not that one gender can't get lost in one thing. It's that both genders can't get lost in anything.
Yeah.
And we have to remain unified. So you mentioned some ladies in our church who have 3 or 4 kids, and they've decided, hey, I want to stay at home. The only way that would be a problem is if the husband's like, we can't afford that.
Yeah.
Or if the husband, for whatever reason, is not on board with that. In the opposite, there are some situations where the wife, because of just what's happened, she's got a great job. The husband doesn't. Even in that dynamic, it's not okay to just say, all right, well, you know what? They're happy with that dynamic. No, Jesus has to be included because he helps keep things unified and balanced.
Yeah.
And we know that there's an order to the way things that go. Not an order for hierarchy, but an order for unity. And it's the way that it works. So I find it crazy that the same type of people out there that want to say, women should be allowed to make the choice as to when they become a mom are suddenly making little of women that have, with their husband's unity, said the best thing for our family is for him to go work and for me to take care of my kids and my home. The same people who want to say, that woman should choose when she has a kid and when she doesn't, suddenly don't let that woman choose that she wants to be a present mother, a fully present mother.
Yeah.
So that's why the conversation almost can't be about, one gender or the other. It's kind of like when they say, when people who are married need counseling, it's almost kind of like you should both be there.
Yeah.
Because you're not one person anymore. You should go together because you become one.
Yeah.
So even the comments this man made and the uproar, I think if you try to make it about one gender, it will always be lacking. And technically, this comment and this conversation is only for women who are married with children, not for the single woman. It's not for the woman who's out there, she's living on her own, she's working, because she can't be a stay-at-home mom because she's not a mom.
Yeah.
So this conversation, people trying to say that women can't be stay-at-home moms or that women should only be stay-at-home moms. This discussion is only being had with the women who have had children and are married. And it's like, that means that a husband and kids are always present, right?
Yeah.
So that means that this discussion always has to include the husband.
Yeah.
It has to. I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, because I can clarify it. But so
you're talking about unity. And so in at home, it's not just about what the man wants or just about what the woman wants or the kids want. It's about all of us and how you create that balance and how you honor each other. And so what you're saying makes total sense in when it comes to these subjects. It's not about one person. It's about the home. It's about the family. It's about all of us. So how do we create that balance, or how do we create that home for all of us? You know?
Exactly. If the discussion is aimed at women who are married
Yeah.
with kids, well, then it has to be considered in light of the husband and kids. You can't pluck a woman who has a family out of the family and say, let's discuss what she should be allowed and not allowed to do. Because technically that removes her from the family.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. You can't do that with the husband either. He should go out and provide. Well, you get in trouble when that's what you focus on. So, one of the things we wanted to discuss were like traditional gender roles. And I think it's more important to look at like traditional family roles within the unity of the husband and the wife are unified with Christ.
Yeah.
That threefold cord, and I know that that's not what the verse is speaking to, like, but when you look at Christ being really the leader of our home, and you and I are unified together with Christ, then the discussion needs to be, okay, does the home have everything it needs?
Yeah.
And as long as the home has everything it needs, we're taken care of. So for us, like, neither one of us really have time to clean our house, right? Like we do it as much as we can.
Yeah.
But we can find somebody to take care of that for us. But at the same time, we're not going to be the family that eats out all the time. Number one, because Richelle cooks incredibly.
Thank you.
But second of all, because we've made the choice, that's something worth investing.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we let the house become a pigsty. We find someone to take care of it. But we make sure the house always has what it needs. So let me ask you, as the wife, as the way that you and I, like, people would be shocked, but I do all the laundry in the house.
Yeah.
So we don't abide by traditional gender roles. I do 90% of the dishes. Like, that's just, I like it. But as a wife, with the roles that you and I have worked out for our home, how do you sit back and balance taking care of your job versus taking care of your home responsibilities?
I think every season will look different. And so saying that you found the perfect balance, I don't think it will ever be realistic, because some seasons will require more of you from work. And some seasons are going to require a little bit more from you at home, because kids are older, kids are younger. It all changes. But I think that when you say how to find that balance, I think ultimately is this. Am I taking care of my home the best that is my home happy and satisfied? And that could be, it doesn't mean that I've cleaned every corner of the house, but it means that I've made time to spend intentionally with you and with Marino. Are we intentionalizing certain days when we say, are we going to put our phones away and just spend time as a family and talk? Not even put the TV, no music, nothing, but us being present in what we're doing. Because we might not be able to do that every day, but are we carving out time where we're saying, this is what we're doing, so we take care of our family? Because when we are at work, we have to be at work. And when we are home, we have to be home. And it's finding those moments where it's like, okay, now that we're home, let's put everything away and be us. So when we get to work, we're able to be at work and take care of our work, because we also want to be people of excellence in our work. We don't want to just say work will be whatever and we don't take care of that, because we know that we have to be excellent and strive for excellence and do it unto God. And that means that doing my work well is doing it unto God.
Yeah.
And being a great mom and a great wife, I have to do it unto God at the end of the day. And so it's good just kind of having temperature checks of what is this season requiring of us? What is this season looking like? And it's not always going to be clear, but as long as we're following and just really asking the Holy Spirit for help and just saying, Holy Spirit, help me. Sometimes you don't know. There's a lot of things that might come and they're new. You're like, how do I handle this one? Or you have seasons where a lot of things are happening at the same time and they almost require your full attention. And you're like, how am I going to do all of this? But that's when you say, I'm going to do my best on all of it. I'm not going to get caught up in the, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's like, how can I make all of it happen? And let God help you fill in the rest of the things that you can't do, because you can't do everything.
No.
But being intentional that way and just remembering that everything that you do it for God.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do my best at home because I'm doing it for God, because I love my family. And I'm going to do my best at work and do it for God because I want to be a good steward of the job that God has given me and take care of the people that God has given me. And so it's just remembering that we're doing it for God. So we need to try to be excellent in all these areas.
Yeah. You know, I think when people have these discussions, right, their head starts to fill with the different examples of the different things that people want.
Mm.
You know, a wife wants to work or she wants to stay home. A husband wants his wife to stay home, or a husband wants to work remote, or wants the house cleaned, wants her to cook for him. It's a huge discussion about desire and want,
Mm.
right? I think that's number one why it can't just be that the husband and wife are on the same page, because that can wade into something unhealthy too. That's why you need Christ. You need that third thing. But I think it's important to sit back and go, okay, what do I want? Should I really want that? And what do I really want?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if you ask me right now, Chris, do you want a clean house? Duh. Right?
Yeah.
I cannot clean as well as you can. Sometimes in some areas I can,
Mhm.
but for the most part, I can't. So does that mean that if I'm not really putting a lot of thought into it, that I can get to this place where I go, man, I want Richelle to clean the house? Sure. But I should sit back and ask myself, should I want that? What do I really want?
Mm.
And what I really want is a healthy marriage, which means my wife has to be happy, and a clean home. Okay, is there a third or a second or third option to make that happen? Yeah. Hire somebody.
Yeah.
Ask somebody to come help. Put something on the schedule to, hey, this Saturday, let's both just put an hour into cleaning this house. I'll take this, I'll take that. It's seeing through the more surface level wants to get to what you really want at a deep level, and then communicating those wants to the other person. So if there's a wife watching this right now and she's like, man, I would want to stay at home. Well, she should communicate that. And then the husband should communicate what he wants. And they should both ask each other, okay, is this what we should want?
Yeah.
And then you just continue to revisit that, because we've seen our own friends, we've seen people that become like that, move into that dynamic. And then because they both ultimately want to please each other, she gets to this point where she feels like she's not really doing anything to help the house. And the woman that wanted to stay home and be a mom eventually says, I mean, I feel like all I am is a mom. So it's like there was a lack of balance there.
Mhm.
And then the husband, who was like, man, I want my wife to stay home, I can handle it, becomes the husband who's never home. And when he gets home, he's bitter because he's the only one that's handling it. So it's important to talk and to
Yeah.
communicate what you want. It's important to remain in unity with each other and with Christ, and to see things as sometimes fluid, and to look at what you really want in life, which I think if you're married, it's because you want that marriage to work.
Yeah.
We heard it in our Connect group on marriage, that God made marriage to succeed.
Yeah.
It's what he did. It's why he made it. So he made us to succeed in marriage. And I know people don't think that, but that means that even if there are roles and responsibilities and things that we're balancing, there's a way to succeed. But you're not going to do it in any sport, in any team sport. You're not going to succeed without talking to each other.
Yeah.
You're not going to succeed without going to the back, looking at your plays and making adjustments. You're not going to win if you're constantly bitter at one another because you hate how much of the load in one area or the other you have to carry.
Yeah.
So the more I look at it, the more I'm like, the world doesn't know how to have this conversation, because the world is not desiring unity.
Yeah.
And they're definitely not desiring to make Christ the center of their families.
Because they're focused on self.
Yeah.
What the culture is telling us right now is everything is self. What about me? What do I want? How can I succeed? How can I make something of myself?
Main character syndrome.
And if we go with that attitude in marriage, and sometimes we get that attitude and there's big fights because we realize, I'm so sorry, I was thinking about myself.
Yeah.
And in a marriage, when you separate it like that and you talk about the woman and the men and what the woman can't do and the men can't do, it's not about that. It's about what can you and I do together? Not about what we can't do, but what can we do together? Because when you come together and it's about unity, and as we're learning to communicate, we're a team.
Yeah.
And in the family units and in marriage, it's about the team. It's not about how much I carry and how much you carry. Because there's burdens that you carry that I'm thankful I don't carry. Because I'm just like, I don't even know. There's certain things that were placed on you to carry because you are able to handle it. And there's certain things that are placed on me to carry because I'm designed to be able to carry this. That's why God created these genders, not for a separation and for...
Not for an overglorification of either one of them.
No, but because we all have unique things that I can carry, that you can carry. And because of that, we come together and are able to do a lot together because we're doing it together. And if in my marriage, I focus on all the things that I'm doing and the things that you're not doing, I'm not getting to appreciate the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because sometimes when we get into little fights or things like that, and sometimes they do stem from wanting to please each other, but sometimes they come from you're so focused on the self that you overlook what your partner's doing and everything that they're carrying, and in that you're not honoring them.
Yeah, we had one of those fights very recently.
Very recently. And we're both learning that, but we saw that day where it's like, well, I'm doing all of this. Well, I'm doing all of this. And you did not see we were not seeing what the other things that we were doing and how they were benefiting both of us, and how some seasons will require me to do some things and other seasons will require you to do some things. A perfect example that you use is while I was pregnant, it got to a point where I needed help putting my shoes on because my belly was big and I just needed you to do it. And you say that in that season, you had to come in and just help me a little bit extra around the house because my energy was not the same. And
you were growing a human being on the inside.
Yes,
of you.
And you guys have seen Marino. He's really big. And so I was really tired. But when Marino was born and I already had a little bit more routine with him, I knew it was my time to get back into it and say, my husband has been carrying a lot of this load for me. And so now let me come in and let me get it back. Let me start helping.
Marino's a great example now because there are some, like, if it's dark outside in the middle of the night, he does not want me. He wants to sleep with you.
Yes.
He will find you. But to put him to sleep, 9 times out of 10, you can't do it.
Yeah.
He won't go to sleep with you. I have to take him and I have to rock him to sleep. You. And then throughout the night, he doesn't want to touch me. But then he wakes up and what's his first words every morning?
Dada.
What would we do if I was one of those husbands who's like, the kid's your responsibility? He would never go to sleep.
Yeah.
But what would you do if you said, the kid is mine? He would never go to sleep.
Yes.
We would never be able to actually balance taking care of him. So in our family, we both change diapers. You change more than I do, but I'm absolutely capable of changing his diaper. If I was able to get up and get things done quicker, I'll easily get that boy ready for work.
Yeah.
And most days you do it. We do have things like I will always drive. That's just the way that my family, I was raised that way. It's not because I want to, and it's not because you don't want to. It's just, you know what? You shouldn't have to. Not to mention, you're much better with the kid in the back of the car because I, like my own father, start to crawl out of my skin if someone else is driving because I want to tell them what to do. But we've made it work.
Yeah.
And the only way that kind of balance works is with communication.
Yes.
It's with a desired goal that we're on the same page. We want to achieve this. And, if someone's listening to this podcast and they've gotten to this point, it's ultimately because they want that too.
Yeah.
They want that healthy marriage. And I don't really know if 3 years into marriage we can say what we have is a healthy marriage. I think what we can say is we're definitely aiming towards it.
Yeah.
And we have principles and practices in place that are definitely getting us there.
Yeah.
And we're enjoying it. And if you did like a little test on our marriage, it would get good marks. And that is because we do have a team mentality. We do not separate the man from the woman. We look at what comes naturally, what is easier, what do I love doing? What do I feel called to? I honestly love doing the dishes. First of all, and I say this very lovingly, I do them better.
Yes. 100%.
I do laundry better.
I'm not even going to argue. I can't do laundry, but I can make you a really good meal.
I was going to say, but if I had to feed us, we would have starved before we got married. Like, I can't do that. And
Yes.
the level of patience that you have with our kid, it's the crazy, I just don't have it. And there's a certain, like designing the house, thank God you were here. We have things in our home that you created that is our decor that people comment at all the time. So it is about, okay, what makes this home efficient? What makes this home work? I have lost 7 pounds right now eating the food you've made, and it's delicious. So the house is healthy. We're enjoying ourselves because we're leaning into our strengths and what we do well. So there's obviously a lot we could have, a lot of discussion we could have here. And I could comment so much on society and how they responded to this guy.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I want to be a man that looks at my wife and says, she's the reason I have everything I have.
Mm.
I want to be the kind of husband who's like, dang, my wife keeps me tethered to the important things. And I think you helped me do a decent job of that. I hope I'm doing a good job of that.
Thank you. And I want to be the wife that looks at my husband and honors him and respects him and gives him room. Not just gives him room, but gives him his place and lets him be the authority over home, because I know when I do that, it brings a certain order and safety to my home. And but that also comes with a husband who, with you, let me reword this. You are such a great husband that it makes me want to do these things. In our home, you've always been a provider. You've always taken care of me. I mean, from the moment we dated, you've taken care of me. So in every season that we go with, you just find different ways to take care of me and provide for me. And when I see that, it really makes me just say, I want to honor my husband and I want to love him, and I want to make ways to make our home the place that he wants to be in all the time with our kids. And that means sometimes I have to take Marino for 5 minutes and you garden, you have your time, then that's fine. But we work together in that, and it's both ways. It's about what you and I can do together.
What we can do together.
Yeah.
Well, you make my life so much better. And so
You make my life so much better.
We're
Yeah.
blessed.
Yes.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Family Business with the Alessis, and I hope you take a minute to go look at your family and love on them a little bit extra. Till next time.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure being here today.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and click on the notifications bell so you can be notified for all of our future videos. And if you loved today's topic, we have plenty more. And you can click on this link right here to watch all of our videos so you can learn why family is everybody's business.